Change is all around us, yet most organizations struggle to make it happen. Did you know that about 70% of change initiatives fail? That's a staggering number, and it often comes down to one key reason: people. It's not that we lack the strategies or plans, it's that we underestimate the emotional and psychological barriers people face. Imagine this. A study by McKinsey found that when change efforts fail, only 28% of employees understand the need for change. This lack of clarity creates confusion, frustration, and resistance. As leaders, we need to dig deeper and understand the hidden challenges that make leading change so tough. In this video, we'll explore the often overlooked factors that sabotage change efforts. From the illusion of consensus to the complex web of emotions and identities, we'll uncover the surprising truths that can trip up even the best leaders. Are you ready to learn how to overcome these barriers? Join me as we reveal the secrets to leading change successfully and create a path for lasting transformation. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Consensus. Why everyone's yes isn't what it seems when you lead change. It's easy to think you're making progress just because people are nodding along. But beware, consensus doesn't always mean commitment. People often say, yes, because it's the easiest way to avoid confrontation, not because they're fully on board. Here's the problem. Superficial agreement can lead to failure. A study by McKinsey found that 70% of change efforts fail, often because of hidden resistance within teams. People will smile and nod but then continue doing things the way they always have. So, how do you get real buy-in? First, encourage healthy disagreement. When team members feel safe voicing their concerns, you'll have a clearer picture of what's actually going on. Author Patrick Lencioni puts it well: if everyone is in agreement, someone isn't thinking. Second, use anonymous feedback tools to uncover what people really think. Sometimes employees don't want to speak up because they're afraid of looking negative. Anonymity gives them a chance to share their true thoughts without fear. Lastly, ask the hard questions. Don't settle for vague nods and yeses. Push for specifics. When people explain their yes, they're more likely to realize where their own uncertainties lie. As famed leadership expert John Kotter emphasizes in his book Leading Change, you don't get buy-in by just hoping for it. You build it deliberately. Chapter 2. Emotional Undercurrents. Unmasking the silent saboteurs of change. Change isn't just about strategy, it's deeply emotional. Fear of the unknown, loss of control, and uncertainty are all silent saboteurs. In fact, research from Harvard Business Review shows that 68% of people resist change because of these emotional factors, not because they don't understand the logic behind it. The emotions running under the surface can derail even the most thought-out plans. To combat this, start by addressing the emotional aspect of change up front. Acknowledge the discomfort that comes with it. Psychologist Daniel Goleman, author of Emotional Intelligence, points out that people are much more open to change when they feel their emotions are understood. One great strategy is to create safe spaces for employees to express their fears. A simple, "How are you feeling about this change?" can open up conversations that reveal underlying concerns. Leaders should also share their own experiences with change. It humanizes the process and shows that feeling uncomfortable is normal. You can also use storytelling to help manage emotions. Share success stories of people who have gone through similar transitions and come out stronger. Research by Paul Zak, a neuroeconomist, shows that hearing stories activates parts of the brain that make people more empathetic and open to new ideas. Finally, pace the change. Too much, too fast can overwhelm people emotionally. Small wins, as suggested by Kotter, help keep morale high and give people confidence that the change is manageable. Chapter 3. The Complexity Conundrum. Why simple plans lead to complex failures. You've probably heard the saying, keep it simple. But when it comes to leading change, simplicity can sometimes backfire. Change efforts that seem too straightforward often miss the hidden complexities lurking in your organization. Why is this a problem? According to ProSci, a leader in change management research, 52% of change initiatives that fail do so because they didn't account for unexpected challenges. Leaders tend to underestimate the ripple effects of even small changes. One way to tackle this is to adopt scenario planning. Don't just create one plan, develop multiple plans that anticipate potential obstacles. This allows you to pivot quickly when surprises arise. It's like General Dwight D. Eisenhower once said, "Plans are nothing. Planning is everything." Another key is involving a diverse group in your planning process. Don't just rely on your leadership team. Include employees from different levels and departments to get a broader view of potential roadblocks. MIT Sloan School of Management emphasizes that teams with diverse perspectives are 35% more likely to develop innovative solutions to complex problems. And finally, be prepared to adapt. Change rarely unfolds the way we expect it to. Leadership expert Simon Sinek reminds us, the only constant is change itself. This means being flexible and open to adjusting your plan as new challenges emerge. It's not a failure to adapt, it's a sign of smart leadership. If you're finding this information valuable, don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned for more insights on leading change effectively. Chapter 4. The Power of Identity. How deep-seated beliefs block transformation. One of the most overlooked obstacles in leading change is identity. People don't just resist change because they're lazy or fearful. Often, they're holding on to something much deeper, their sense of who they are. A person's identity is tied to their job, skills, and role. When change threatens that, people push back hard, even if it's subconscious. In fact, research from Harvard Business Review shows that 62% of employees resist change because they feel it will make their skills or role irrelevant. That's a huge roadblock. As a leader, you must tackle this head-on by recognizing the connection between identity and resistance. Start by helping people see how their identity can evolve with the change. For example, if an employee is worried about becoming irrelevant, highlight how the change will give them new opportunities to grow. This reframes the change as a positive step in their professional development, not a threat. Another great strategy is to celebrate the old while embracing the new. People like to feel that their past contributions are valued. Acknowledge what worked before, and explain how those strengths can be leveraged in the new environment. Carol Dweck, author of Mindset, emphasizes the importance of a growth mindset, where people see change as a chance to learn, rather than a challenge to their identity. You can also give people the tools to shape their own identity in the new system. Offer training and resources so they feel empowered to grow rather than left behind. Studies from Deloitte show that companies that provide skill-building opportunities during change initiatives are 46% more likely to succeed. Chapter 5. Invisible Stakeholders. Uncovering the hidden forces that shape outcomes. You might think you've accounted for every stakeholder in your change process. But often, it's the ones you can't see who have the most impact. These invisible stakeholders, people or forces you didn't consider, can make or break your efforts. For example, external partners, suppliers, or even clients can subtly influence your team's attitude toward change. Studies by ProSci show that over 40% of change initiatives fail because external stakeholders weren't properly managed. So, who's lurking in the shadows of your change efforts? First, map out all potential stakeholders, even those outside your immediate team. Think broadly. Who will be affected indirectly by this change? Who has the power to sway opinions, even if they're not in your organization? It's critical to understand their influence before you can manage it. Once you've identified them, keep these stakeholders in the loop. Regular updates and check-ins can help avoid surprise resistance. As management expert Peter Drucker famously said, the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. It's also important to build alliances. If certain stakeholders seem hesitant, get them on board early by involving them in the process. People are more likely to support what they help create. And if you can't bring them into the fold directly, at least ensure that their needs and concerns are addressed. Lastly, consider your company's culture as an invisible stakeholder. Sometimes the unwritten rules and norms of an organization can quietly block change. You'll need to dig deep into what really drives behavior and attitudes in your team, not just what's on paper. If you're enjoying these insights, make sure to subscribe for more strategies on effective leadership and change management. Chapter 6. Sustaining Momentum. Why winning early battles won't win the war. A common mistake in leading change is celebrating too early. Yes, those first few wins feel great, but they don't mean the job is done. In fact, John Kotter says in his book Leading Change that 80% of organizations lose momentum after early successes. The initial energy fades, and people slip back into old habits. The key here is to keep the momentum going, even after the first big wins. One strategy is to set up long-term milestones, not just short-term goals. These milestones act as a reminder that change is a marathon, not a sprint. Keep the team's eyes on the bigger picture. Another tactic is to publicly celebrate small victories but tie them back to the broader goal. Make it clear that these wins are part of something larger. Dan Heath and Chip Heath, authors of Switch, argue that shrinking the change into smaller, manageable steps makes people feel progress is within reach, which helps maintain motivation. Regularly revisit and communicate the vision of the change. Why are you doing this in the first place? Reinforce the purpose behind the change, not just the tactics. When people understand the deeper meaning of their efforts, they're more likely to stay engaged long-term. According to a study by Gallup, teams that are connected to a purpose beyond profit are 21% more productive. One final strategy is to rotate leadership roles throughout the change process. Giving different team members the chance to lead creates fresh energy and keeps things from getting stale. It also helps foster a sense of ownership and accountability. Don't forget to be flexible. Things will go wrong, that's inevitable. What matters is how quickly you can adapt and refocus. Keep communication lines open and regularly check in with your team to see how they're feeling. As Jim Collins says in Good to Great, the signature of mediocrity is not an unwillingness to change. The signature of mediocrity is chronic inconsistency. Thank you for joining me on this journey through leading change. If you found this content helpful, please subscribe for more insights and strategies on effective leadership.